What is up, everybody, and welcome to another video. In today's video, I am going to make good on my promise from the last video to make a video with this title, which is that there's no such thing as a good flipping balisong. And what I mean by that, it's obviously a very clickbaity style of title, but I think it's honestly a interesting thought experiment and something that has affected me in terms of the way that I go about reviewing balisongs, talking about balisongs, and trying to, be a professional in the balisong hobby and the balisong space, right? Like, there's just so much that hinges on the idea that there is, in fact, a good flipping balisong, and I need to sort of communicate what that is to my audience and, share with people what I think is a good balisong and, stuff like that. And because of that, that makes my job, especially believing that there is no such thing as a good balisong, that makes my job difficult. Now, what do I mean when I say there is no such thing as a good flipping balisong? I guess the thing I'm trying to really communicate here, and this is really true because it actually reflects a lot of things in the world. I think that basically it has to do with the nature of subjectivity. The balisong hobby is an incredibly subjective thing. Like, what we are doing here, what we enjoy doing, is incredibly subjective. People like all sorts of different things. It's very similar to music. It's very similar to dancing. It's very similar to a lot of things. But I think music is the one that really, ties it in the closest for me. What somebody considers to be good or bad music changes dramatically from person to person. And sure, the people around you might like similar things as you, but if you meet somebody from a different culture or a different area, you will find out that they often have dramatically different opinions about the nature of art and what is good and what isn't good. So that's all extremely interesting, and that means that obviously there is a fan for every balisong. Like, just because you think a balisong is bad doesn't mean that this next person will as well. But also, on top of that, what I even mean even more by there is no such thing as a good flipping balisong is really that there's no such thing as a, unflippable bad balisong unless it quite literally doesn't move. The only thing that makes it an unflippable bad balisong is the idea that it quite literally can't be flipped. If it is unmovable, if it does not move, then I wouldn't even necessarily consider it a balisong. But the shittiest, cheapest CCC kind of thing can actually be one of the best balisongs in the hands of the right person. There are people out there who do incredible things with absolute trash at the end of the day, and they manage to do those things through perseverance and practice and utilizing what they have. There's a flipper in Russia that I saw recently on Instagram. I forget his name off the top of my head, but he had one of those balisongs I had talked about very early on this channel, the cheap plastic balisong where it's like a it's got a slab of stainless steel that's been punched out and then injection molded plastic coverings on either handle, and it's a multi-tool, and you can get it on Amazon for like $10, and it is not a good balisong, at least by my standards. But it doesn't matter, because in their hands, it was insane. They were doing some of the craziest flipping I have ever seen on something that I would consider to be objectively terrible at flipping. And yet they were proving me completely wrong. And the reason behind that is because the subjectivity of the balisong space, the subjectivity of all of this is similar to how a lot of things actually work. For instance, coffee. Coffee is an acquired taste. A lot of things can be an acquired taste, and balisongs, I think, are similar. It is about exposure. It is about the amount of time you spend practicing with your tools, the amount of time that you spend enjoying it. Of course, you're going to get good at flipping something that's even objectively seen as terrible by so many people if you just spend enough time doing it. And I think that is really interesting, right? The idea that this person might not even think that that Balisong is very good. Though I have seen multiple Korean flippers who have a collection that includes things like the Crackerakin and the Alpha Beast and stuff like that, and yet they still often are seen flipping with their stainless steel, really cheap Balisong Benchmade 42 clone kind of knives and absolutely ripping on them. And I've seen those people say before, I do it because I like this knife. I actually actively enjoy flipping this thing that so many people consider to be garbage. And that's because it isn't garbage. It is just different. Similar to music, the way that people enjoy all kinds of music, and there is plenty of music out there that you might consider to be very not enjoyable to yourself, and you have no idea how anyone else could enjoy it, and yet people do. People love all kinds of music. People create all kinds of music. It is incredible, the diversity of all of that, and I think that that shows something sort of deeper that can be reflected here in the Balisong community, right? I think that, like, with the Balisong community, with it being an acquired taste, I think it's so interesting that any Balisong you flip for long enough can end up being a good Balisong. That's something that's, I think, is interesting and difficult for me with reviewing, right? When I'm trying to make sort of an objective judgment, if I'm trying to make a video about a Balisong and tell you what I think about this Balisong and, you know, what I think is good about it or what I think is bad about it and all of that kind of stuff, it is hard to do so because the longer I spend flipping it, a lot of times the more used to it I get, and therefore the better my opinions are of it. Often I have uploaded a number of videos where I make kind of like relatively negative feelings about a Balisong here on Will Flips, and then later I'll have more positive feelings about a Balisong in an actual review because I've spent more time on it. And whether or not that is honest means a lot to me. And I think that it is. I think that spending extra time to figure out really what I want to say, you know, when I'm writing those review videos, or especially what I've been focusing on now is sort of like feature videos instead of like straight up reviews where I really talk more about the history of the Balisong and why it's interesting over how good it flips, because as I've stated, how good it flips is literally just my opinion, and the opinion of one person is going to tell you very little about how much you are personally going to enjoy a specific thing. It's like listening to music reviews and, you know, basing your entire music taste off of that. It's only going to serve you so much until you're only listening to top 40s radio hits, you know? It's like there is going to be more music out there that resonates more deeply with you if you take the time to explore and learn about that. I think this connects into the subject of my last video very, very deeply, because the way that we build our collections and the things that we sort of like in our collections, I think are you know, real reflections of who we are as people. I think that's why your music taste is so unique to you. Your taste in movies is so unique to you. And sure, you can like the things that other people like, but the specific cocktail that you have of opinions and the things that you enjoy, I think that is what makes you special, and that is what makes this community and just, I mean, humanity in general special, right? We are a soup of people with all sorts of opinions and all sorts of ideas, and so because of that, there is no objective fact when it comes to something as subjective as how a Balisong flips. And so whether or not a Balisong is good to you, I think is still important. I think it is important to have opinions and express those opinions. I'm not saying that anyone is invalid, but I think that maybe the more important thing here is that everyone in their own way kind of is valid, and that's maybe even more interesting. And a lot of times I think that discussions online about how good or bad a specific Balisong is or isn't can devolve into a lot of name calling and being like, well, you're wrong and you're wrong and you're wrong. And it's like, I mean, there are people out there who do have opinions that I certainly do not agree with, but at the end of the day, especially when it comes to something as subjective as the flipping of a balisong, how does the balisong flip? You know, you can have, I think, more solid, quote-unquote, objective opinions about stuff like the durability or how well it was built or what materials it's made with. You know, if somebody's selling, I don't know, a balisong made with, you know, only pretty good blade steel, but blade steel that maybe shouldn't have been used for a balisong because it's kind of brittle, and like the handles are, oh, I don't know, maybe sandwich stainless steel, and it runs on G10, and the G10 hasn't been machined very well, and it doesn't even have bushings, and they're charging like, say, $450 for that. Maybe you can make an argument that that's not very good by the value of the materials and what you're getting out of it, you know? But to make an argument that it is a bad flipper, that is a lot harder because it doesn't exist. It doesn't really exist. The idea of what is and isn't a bad flipper doesn't really exist. And yes, I'm talking about the 99 Necron from Benchmade, and yes, I think it is a bad value, but there are a lot of people who really like how it flips, and those people are genuine. They're not memeing, they're not joking. It does flip really good to them. And to me, I do enjoy flipping the Necron, even though it's not the absolute end-all be-all for me. It's still a thing that I do enjoy, and I think that's surprising and interesting. So anyways, yeah, this has been a heck of a yap session. I hope you gleaned anything from that. I do have a question for you, which is to say, is there any in specific balisong that the community generally perceives as bad, but you find yourself enjoying? Is there any specific balisong that you can think of that you're like, I know people don't like this, but I like this? I would love to hear what you have to say about that. For me, one of the ones that stands out the most, which I unfortunately didn't bring it with me today, is the Fox Knives Phi. That thing is such an interesting balisong. It's the collaboration between Fox Knives and Fior. I've made a video about it on this channel if you want to go search for that. It is a really interesting looking balisong, and it feels really weird in the hand. It's got these like really round handles and a very strange balance and a really, really thin tip, so there's very little tip weight, and at the same time, oh, and it's pinsless. And yet, despite all those things, I really enjoy how it flips. I don't know why. It's a weird one, but it's really, really fun. It feels crazy in the hand. It does like fanning extremely weird, but kind of in a satisfying way. I don't know how to describe it otherwise, but I really like it. So anyways, yeah, just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I'd love to hear your opinions on this. Let me know how I'm wrong in the comments, and or let me know what balisong you enjoy that the community says maybe you're wrong for liking. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. I hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.